Alright, I wanted to make a quick video for CS50x about memory usage. So what's going on here is I'm seeing some forum posts and I'm not even sure what's been discussed exactly in the lecture and the slides on this topic, but there are a couple distinctions that everyone needs to understand if they're going to write C. So the first thing you need to know is that when you declare a variable, you say int a semicolon. What that's doing is it's telling the compiler, okay, when the program starts, I want you to leave enough memory for me to store an int, an integer, which on most systems is going to be 32 bits these days. So if you are in a situation where a user enters a number and you need to store something based on that number, let's say they put in 32, I want to store 32 more items. What you need to do is not tell the compiler that you need those 32, but you actually need to ask the operating system for that memory. That's memory you didn't know you needed at the time that the program started. So in order to do that, you use a function called malloc. Now what I'm seeing is people trying to use argv, okay, or they're trying to use some other user input, and they're putting that in int bracket and then argv1 or something like that. There's a real problem with that because what you're doing there is that argv expression has no value to the compiler. The compiler doesn't know how big that is. Now, it may be you get lucky and you just get some garbage put in there and that does the job. And you happen to get enough memory that it'll run most of the time. But it's a significant problem. So what you really need to do instead is say, figure out how much memory you're going to need, and then malloc for it. Malloc is it's as simple as they get. You tell it how much memory you want, it'll give you back the address of that memory. You need to check though and make sure that the operating system actually gave you that memory. And the way you do that is by checking to see whether it's equal to null or not. So I think I'll post a couple examples. But the difference between compile time memory allocation and runtime memory allocation is a huge one and the cause of many bugs. And you also need to check, it's also a huge source of security problems, which is why I'm bothering to make the video about it. So make sure you check malloc if it's something that you don't know about at the time you write the program, if you don't know how big your object needs to be. So this goes for whenever you're reading a file or reading strings or anything like that. You need to make sure that you malloc for it and that you bound check when you're accessing it. And I'm sure this is something we'll talk more about, may have already been talked about in lecture, but very, very important.